And yes, there we go, finally. Alright, everyone. Welcome to, well, another reaction stream. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but you know what? I figured that the video that I pulled up, it'd be worth reacting to. So, okay, why isn't it showing up for my window capture? Do I gotta reset this? Seems like I might have to. Ah, there we go. Found it. Alright, guys. I got the video. Okay. So, quick question for y'all. Do y'all remember when mobile games were actually good? Well, whether or not you do, I certainly do. And it seems like, in recent years especially, quality has gone downhill, like, a shit ton. And not only is that reflective in, like, the games themselves, but also the ads. Like, I remember back in the day with games like Angry Birds, Plants vs. Zombies, Cut the Rope. Those games were good. You didn't need ads for those games. But nowadays, it seems like every mobile game needs one, and it needs to be as brain dead as possible. Oh, man. I miss those days. Can't we just go back? Anyways. By now, I've seen plenty of these bad, absolutely atrocious mobile game ads. And when I found a video saying more garbage ad games, I figured, hey, this might be worth reacting to. See if this guy shares my opinion. So, that's what I'm going to be reacting to. And providing a little bit of commentary. So, not much else to say. So let's get into it. Let's see if we really have gone down. Let's see if the quality for these games really has devolved into slop.
Mobile game ads.
Hey, I just hacked into my boss's secret files. Enter these codes and you'll get $300 worth of in-game rewards. Just tap download and get 2,000 free summons.
Still suck.
No shit. I mean, look at this. This is just AI Simpsons art right here. And they just, for that woman character right there, they just had to boost up the sex appeal for it. Like, if you're a gooner, I see you falling for this. Me, I would exit off of YouTube immediately. Either that or turn on an ad blocker.
Worth of in-game rewards. Just tap download and get 2,000 free summons.
And look how poorly that was articulated. The mouth movement didn't even match up with what she was saying.
Still suck. Surprise, surprise, nothing's...
Okay, more stuff for gooners. Like, oh my goodness. Who would actually play a game like this? Genuinely, someone tell me. Just to satisfy my curiosity. This is... Who let this stuff pass? Dude, like, seriously. Some unhinged psychopath had the guts to make a game like this.
Really changed. A few years ago, I went over...
There's only one thing I have to say for that.
Summons.
Still suck. Surprise, surprise, nothing's really...
There's only one thing I have to say to this. Disgusting!
Really changed. A few years ago, I went over a handful of games comparing the ads with the actual experience. And now I think it's about time for round 2 to see if these companies have gotten any better or if they're still just as willing to blatantly lie about what these games actually are. Hint, it's the latter.
What a surprise.
Something a lot of ads do now is have these little playable demos that let you get a taste of what's in store. The idea is for these to act as a little hook, to let the viewer decide whether or not it's good enough to play the full game. But
now, this is just my conclusions, but I've determined from playing a few of these ads myself that they are not. They are absolutely not worth playing. They're not worth your time, or, in some cases, your money.
Some games do this in a more misleading way than others. store. The idea is for these to act as a little hook, to let the viewer decide whether or not it's good enough to play the full game. But some games do this in a more misleading way than others. I'll let you be the judge on if these are false advertising, but if you ask me, they could definitely be more honest. So today I'll be looking at these demos along with the ads to see if they're the same. So once again, I ventured into the Apple App Store, downloaded the first Voodoo game I saw, and played it for about 10 minutes. Yep, the first thing I noticed is that most ads aren't even for normal games anymore, but instead are for these weird fake gambling casino apps that promise real money going straight into your PayPal.
Hey boss, I hate watching.
If you actually go through with something like that, please look up at the ceiling and you'll see Gullible written on it.
Ads for more.
No apps that promise real money going straight into your PayPal.
If you really want money, go out and get a job. Like, seriously. It's not that difficult.
Hey boss, I hate watching ads for more times. Can I play Cash Game without watching ads?
Download Solitaire Duels.
Great!
From today, if you download Solitaire Duels, you don't have to spend a single penny or watch a single ad.
And more AI voice acting. That was so bad it was good. Like, just listen to this. Listen to this.
I hate watching ads for more times. Can I play Cash Game without watching ads?
Download Solitaire Duels.
Great!
Just listen. That overreaction there is just so... Oh my goodness.
From today, if you download Solitaire Duels, you don't have to spend a single penny or watch a single ad.
And again, with what he's saying there is not what he's saying there is not syncing with his lips.
And you can win in as fast as 10 minutes.
Please don't fall for these things, they are most certainly scams. Anyways,
listen to the
welcome
man.
To more garbage ad games. The first game I'll be looking at is simply called Township. There are plenty of town building games on the App Store, but the thing that separates this one from others in the genre like Clash of Clans or My Singing Monsters is in the ads. The advertisements feature these little 3D animations of trucks in these little tycoon scenarios trying to build up their farming business.
I mean, I've seen quite a few of these before, and it's like, they have a variety of ads. Again, most of them, they didn't really sync up with me.
Playable animations of trucks in these little tycoon scenarios trying to build up their farming business. In the playable version, it's very similar. Playing as a farmer in a minimalistic art style, you go around harvesting crops and selling them to people for money, which you then reinvest in making more crops easier. It's a
Hey, that's how capitalism works.
very simplistic tycoon, but seeing so much progress made so fast is decently entertaining, especially considering you're only going to be playing it for about 30 seconds. Anyways, the actual game is nothing like this. Nope, not even a resemblance.
What a surprise.
Anyways, the actual game is nothing like this. Nope, not even a resemblance. So first of all, see how everything here is in 3D? In-game, this is not the case. It could actually very well be the most generic 2D city builder I've ever seen. You play as the guy running your town, and the gameplay is exactly what you'd expect. The most bare-bones waiting simulator. Plant
I mean, isn't that all that town building simulators are? Just sitting around, build shit, and then wait for a few hours?
crops. Gameplay is exactly what you'd expect. The most bare-bones waiting simulator. Plant crops, get money, build houses, and level up. After the tutorial, the game asks you to name your town. I've decided to name mine Joe. Now, who's Joe, you might ask? I don't know.
Hey, no. Don't go asking who Joe is if you don't know who Jeff is. Jaffather.
Level up. After the tutorial, the game asks you to name your town. I've decided to name mine Joe. Now, who's Joe, you might ask? I don't know.
You just had to insert that joke somewhere.
Mine Joe. Now, who's Joe, you might ask? I don't know. The animations on all the buildings are actually very well done. It makes the town feel a lot more alive, since there are actually people around. People I can watch as they helplessly suffer in their eternal imprisonment. Now it's time to build the grocery store. And for the sake of everyone in this town, it's important that it isn't too far away from their houses. So I put it right over here, right next to the abandoned mine.
That seems pretty far away from me.
So I
Let me
put it
look.
right over.
Yeah, there's no houses anywhere near here. Just a bunch of trees and a few other building sites. And maybe an airport, but that's not a house.
Over here, right next to the abandoned mine. At some point, I got the option to visit my good friend Ernie's.
Is it just me, or does this guy look like, you know, a default bot that you see at the beginning? Stream's acting up on me right now. Even though I'm not having... Even though I have 5 bars right now. Okay. Anyways, as I was saying, back in the day, I used to play a game called Plants vs. Zombies Adventures, which is like... It was like Plants vs. Zombies, except 3D, and it had a little bit of a town building aspect to it. And at the beginning, you had someone like Ernie here, who had like a pretty much endgame town. And, well, let's see what his look like.
I don't know who he is.
Yep, see, endgame levels right here. Same thing that I experienced in Plants vs. Zombies Adventures.
But he was already in my friends list, so I'm sure we go way back.
Yeah, no. He is most certainly a bot.
And man, this dude has no life. Look at all this shit.
Hey, you can't have a life if you're a bot.
Here we go way back. And man, this dude has no life. Look at all this shit. This city is massive. He's really doing all of this for less than 10,000 people. No wonder most of the streets are empty. He even has a special district just for his big towers. I will say, seeing Ernie...
I'm sorry, I just lost it there. It might be a bit of an offensive joke, but seriously, you gotta admit, that was a little bit funny.
District just for his big towers. I will say,
you gotta admit, that was a little bit funny.
seeing Ernie's city has given me some inspiration. From now on, I'm gonna run this town like a true businessman. That means profit over everything else. Trees? Gone. Decorations? Gone. They're all just commodities to be sold for profit. At some point, there was a guy relaxing on some chairs I was selling, so I sold him too.
Wait, what? You could sell people in this game?
At some point, there was a guy relaxing on some chairs I was selling, so I sold him too.
Bruh. Bro, I didn't know we were doing slave trading in this game. Now it really needs to be stopped.
Freeloading loser. Ha! Should have been working, buddy. In conclusion, I highly recommend moving to the town of Joe. It's a lovely place with only a 10% chance that you'll be taken and sold to the highest bidder. But the Joe. It's a lovely place with only a 10% chance that you'll be taken and sold to the
Okay, well, this is very clearly Photoshopped, but he killed me. He killed me with that one.
The highest bidder. But the best reason to live here is that the mayor is a very kind, down-to-earth guy who always has your best interest in mind.
Yeah, I bet. No question about it. If I saw this was the town I was moving to, I would move right back where I came from.
As for Township, I mean, it's whatever, I guess. Painfully generic and misleading compared to the advertisements, but it was kind of fun to play around with. Next, we have one called Doomsday Last Survivors. The playable ad I got for it was one of the classic guy shooting forwards while enemy approach playables.
Oh my goodness, I hate these things.
In true mobile game ad fashion, guy shooting forwards while enemy approach playables. In true mobile game ad fashion, despite playing it well, the boss at the end was impossible to beat, leaving the player, in this case, me, unsatisfied in a vain attempt to get me to download the full game. In this case, it actually worked because I'm making this video, but I'm actually really curious if anyone actually downloads games if the ads leave them unsatisfied.
No, that's the kind of thing that turns me off to downloading a game, like seriously. How does this work on people? Like seriously. The people who must actually fall for these kinds of things must be like 2 years old or something.
Actually really curious if anyone actually downloads games if the ads leave them unsatisfied. I feel like that would have the opposite effect, but so many ads do it that it has to work on someone, right?
Again, 2-year-old kids. They kind of like that reverse psychology, you know. They see it as a bit of a challenge. Me, I just see it as like, you know, the person who's playing and subsequently the person who's making the ad is dumb.
Doomsday has other ads too. At first, when faced with ads for a zombie game, I thought of these really weird ones with goofy characters running away from zombies, but those ads are actually for a completely different game. The ones for Doomsday are also pretty bad though, like this one, where a survivor goes underground. Just very cheap looking all around, and also not something that happens in the actual game. I have reason to believe that this game either doesn't like women or likes women a little too much. There is no in between. On opening, the game showed me these detailed menus. A little too much. There is no in between.
That does not look like a Doomsday scenario right there. What is going on in that? Is that Alice in Wonderland?
The game showed me these detailed menus, really hyping up how great this game looks. Man, I'm so excited. Okay, never mind. So it put me on some bridge and gave me the tutorial. Already, the game looks very different. Okay, never mind.
Oh, never mind is right.
This game looks. Man, I'm so excited. Okay, never mind. So it put me on some bridge and gave me the tutorial. Already, the game looks very different from the ads, though in this case, the actual game looks better. We finish battling through the zombie horde and are introduced to the overworld. Visually, this part of the game looks a lot like Mafia City or Game of War, a base building type game from an isometric viewpoint. Sort of like Township now that I think about it. Out of curiosity, I looked into the company behind this game, IGG Singapore Pte Limited. And they actually made a Game of War ripoff, so that's probably where the inspiration comes from. Getting back to the game, I need to play through more levels to clear the area and secure my new base. At this point, the actual level-to-level gameplay sucks. It's not misleading at least, but the amount of thought needed to beat levels is basically non-existent. From a gameplay perspective, all you—
Oh. I accidentally clicked a few things there. But yeah, the kind of game that satisfies people who, you know, the kind of game that satisfies people with brain rot is the kind of impression that I'm getting here.
But the amount of thought needed to beat levels is basically non-existent. From a gameplay perspective, all you do is move your dipshit characters to the right spot. That's usually whatever's right in front of you. Now, I will say, it's funny to see your little guys all working together, just like it's cool to look at a bunch of ants carrying things. But I wouldn't play a whole video game of it. Actually,
no. I don't. Maybe watching ants carrying things, but watching ants in general, like, no. Like, seriously. My house gets infested with ants, like, every summer, and it is the most annoying shit possible. Like, seriously. They managed to come out in the most inopportune spots, like in the kitchen, up in my room, like, everywhere. Even when you don't want them to. And we've, like, bug sprayed the house, like, 50,000 times already. And they just keep on coming. I get it's because, you know, we have a lot of food and such. But still. It would be nice if we had, like, a completely bug-proof shield around the house.
Just like it's cool to look at a bunch of ants carrying things. But I wouldn't play a whole video game about it. Wait, hold on. Actually, yo, this is kind of fire.
Yeah, no, not my type of racing game right there. I prefer real cars, thank you very much.
Game about it. Wait, hold on. Actually, yo, this is kind of fire. Every time we beat an early game level, we get a little cutscene with actual cartoon voice acting.
Oh my
Please.
goodness. They just have
Beat an early game level, we get a little cutscene with
They just have to have the woman in the game with jiggle physics. Again, the sex appeal thing, it doesn't work on me.
You get a little cutscene with actual cartoon voice acting.
Please, let us join you. Hey, look out! I'm shooting at you!
I really like that they try to make the apocalyptic world.
That might, though. That was priceless.
Let us join you. Hey, look out! I'm shooting at you!
I really like that they try to make the apocalyptic world they're in as serious as possible when 99% of the game is just
goofy men shooting at goofy zombies.
Eventually, after one mind-numbing level after another, we make it to the boss.
We've got to take down this big guy.
You see this big guy? He be eating all
follow the little guy.
While incredibly simple, it was a nice break from the monotony of everything else, even if it's basically the same gameplay as before. With the boss killed, we can secure the area and turn it into our new base. But then more zombies show up, and Nora gets bitten. No! Not Nora! I've known her for only like 5 minutes, but I feel like we've already really built a strong connection.
How does that work? Like, seriously. By the sound of it, these characters have, like, no personality.
Known her for only like 5 minutes.
And no, boobs don't count.
But I feel like we've already really built a strong connection. Sigh. Maybe if she wore any sort of armor to protect herself in the zombie apocalypse, instead of being basically naked, this could have been avoided. We get the
That's horror movie logic right there. Let's just dress casually and expect things to go well. Like, seriously. No, it doesn't work. That's how you end up biting the dust.
In the zombie apocalypse, instead of being basically naked, this could have been avoided. We get the option to try to save her or to end her suffering.
Kill me now.
Okay.
I don't recommend that.
Okay? Why give me the choice to begin with? So now
Okay, yeah, that seemed pretty much pointless.
Okay.
I don't recommend that.
Okay? Why give me the choice to begin with? So now Nora's all tied up and gagged on a chair, and I'm sure nobody who made this game had any weird fantasies related to this. Anyways, we need serum to cure Nora, and in order to get that, we have to go out and, you'll never guess, fight more zombies. The gameplay is not getting any harder. In fact, it's only getting worse.
Yeah, the gameplay is not bad. It's terrible!
Now we have zombies. The gameplay is not getting any harder. In fact, it's only getting worse. Now we have some heroes we can put on our team and use them to start off even stronger than before. Along the way, I even get to use a legendary champion for a level, so the game could show me how cool she is and why I very much definitely need to spend all of my money on getting her. So eventually we get a syringe of getting any harder. In fact, it's
Why? Why, game?
I was trying to give them the benefit of
Because they're trying to satisfy the gooners.
the doubt. Sure, she's barely wearing clothes in a zombie apocalypse, but maybe she just likes living on the edge. Maybe she was gagged because as a zombie, she'd be at risk of infecting you or something. I don't
Yeah,
think I
shoot
can
that Minecraft
excuse
zombie.
whatever this is. This is literally putting itself on the same level as the most unhinged Elsa Gate tier YouTuber.
Ugh! Disgusting! I'm not going back and replaying that.
And she moans too! Okay, pack it up, fellas. It's
Yep, stream's over. We're out of here. Nah, just kidding. The show must go on.
over. So anyways, I need more serum because of course I do. I don't have an addiction. I'm perfectly fine. I just need it. I need more. And honestly, at this point, the boring, stale, uninteresting gameplay is preferable to whatever the hell's going on there. I beat
Why even play it in the first place if that's all that it is? It's either just unhinged or boring.
some more levels, gambled a little on some new heroes like Andrew Morrison and
What the f-
there. I beat some more levels, gambled a little on some new heroes like Andrew
Oh my goodness. Is that... That's the most drunk-looking professor I've ever seen.
Morrison and Grandma? And finally got some more serum. And update, in order to save her, you have to inject her on every one of those points. There is no option to decline this. I'm not gonna show it because I'll literally get demonetized, but just let me play the audio so you get the idea.
My chest is warm.
Completely unrelated, but just so you know, this game has an age rating of 12 plus.
Yeah, they might want to change that, like, seriously. That's mature rating stuff right there.
Just gonna make that fact known. The idea behind this setup is actually has an age rating of 12 plus. Just gonna make that fact known. The idea behind this setup is actually pretty interesting from a psychological perspective. It introduces the main character and forces you to get 4 needles in order to save her with a 24-hour time limit, with the threat of turning her into a powerful zombie leader. This essentially forces the player into a rushed panic in which they feel like they have to play the game in order to avoid that outcome. Or to see a different one if they're like the developers. But here's the thing, the first 3 syringes are easy to get, but the last one is after what's conveniently the only level I couldn't beat, which is also conveniently after it shows off this other powerful character you could buy to beat it easily. Basically, the game is trying everything it can to get you to spend money, because
I need my money! Yeah, no. No mature person's gonna fall for that. Like, seriously. Dull gameplay, no personality characters. Like, come on, dude.
buy to beat it easily. Basically, the game is trying everything it can to get you to spend money, because after that, you'll be hit with the sunk cost fallacy. You spend money on the game now in order to save Nora, so now you have to keep playing to get your money's worth. Even if the
Basically FOMO, but worse.
You spend money on the game now in order to save Nora, so now you have to keep playing to get your money's worth. Even if the actual game is boring dogshit Gooner bait. Overall, this game's
That sums it up pretty well, I think.
worth. Even if the actual game is boring dogshit Gooner bait. Overall, this game sucks, dude. The game
Yeah, that's right. Nuke the shit out of it. Like, come on. That doesn't belong on the App Store or the Play Store or any online, like, place where you could get apps. It doesn't belong there.
game is boring dogshit Gooner bait. Overall, this game sucks, dude. The gameplay, while not misleading, sucks and doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I see. I immediately, just hearing that, I immediately thought back to AVGN, you know, Angry Video Game Nerd. It seems like we have hardly evolved in saying how bad games are. Like, take for example, they said back in like 2005, this game sucks. And then decades later, we're still using that same thing to describe bad games. We're still using that same phrase to describe bad games.
Even if the actual game is boring dogshit Gooner bait. Overall, this game sucks, dude. The gameplay, while not misleading, sucks and doesn't go anywhere. It tries to use manipulative psychology to get people
I
to
need my
look
money.
past how terrible it is, but it won't work on anyone over the age of 12. Conveniently for them, though, that's who the game seems to be made for. Please, do not support this game. The next game.
Of course not, dude. That's... If anything, they should ban it. Again, nuke the shit out of it.
Though, that's who the game seems to be made for. Please, do not support this game. The next game I'll be looking at is Royal Match. This one should be a little more positive in tone. As you can imagine from the name, Royal Match is, what else, a match 3 game. So you don't really need to guess what the gameplay is. The ads, however,
I can't stop playing! And yeah, the ads for this one, they're not bad, but, you know, a bit simplistic for my taste. I can't see myself playing this one for long.
can be very funny. Here, the king is poor and needs to buy a place to live, but
Oh my god. They ripped this one right out of Gardenscapes, which they use these exact same ad styles as well. Like, you know, the pull pin, try to get gold to the family, or else they get sent into the poorhouse. Jeez, man. Be more original next time. I mean, if you're gonna invest all your money into advertising, at least make the ads good. Or no, don't even do that. Don't even do that. Just if you have a big budget for the game, don't use it as much on advertising. Use it on improving the gameplay. Just like the olden days.
oh no! The player couldn't get enough gold, so now he's stuck in a crummy shack. And he can't get the coal to his fireplace, so he's gonna freeze to death. Oh no! And now he's like catching on fire and dying.
How does that work exactly? Like, seriously. You freeze to death and then you catch fire? Like, how does that work?
To death. Oh no! And now he's like catching on fire and dying. There are also playable ads where he manages to get himself in the absolute worst circumstances possible, and his only hope is for you to be the one to match some shapes and save him.
Yeah, see, those are the funny ones.
As possible, and his only hope is for you to be the one to match some shapes and save him. How can a king be so down on his luck all the time? It's actually described pretty well in this ad.
But there's a king named Robert. He's always getting into trouble, and you have to save him.
Save him from who?
Well, you'll find that out when you download and start playing Royal Match.
That's also, I'm guessing that's also where part of the advertising budget went, is to paying those people off to say good things about the game.
Trouble, and you have to save him.
Save him from who?
Well, you'll find that out when you download and start playing Royal Match.
My cupcake drops, snickums, spickums, yoa.
The game itself is, get this, just like the ads. Yes! I know it took the literal most bare bones gameplay to do it, but we've successfully found a rare instance of a mobile game ad not being blatantly misleading. Except for this part. Sadly, the game itself doesn't have much to talk about. The actual gameplay is usually focused on using the match 3 mechanic to clear things. Bricks, grass, and plates in order to continue building up the kingdom. The different shapes are very pretty saturated colors, and the special pieces make big explosions.
Wow, I love
Very
matching
good.
There are different
How
areas
original.
you unlock access to, and seeing the castle come together gives off a feeling of greater progression, more than just your standard world map like other games in the genre. The insane scenarios seen in the ads do seem to come up, but only on rare occasion through optional King's Nightmare levels, where you have to save him from whatever scenario he's in. In my case, the King's kitchen caught on fire, and I needed to match 3 in order to clear a path for the water to pass through to come put it out. While the game itself is whatever, I think the sheer popularity of this game is kind of insane. The fact that even today, the Match 3 format is so prevalent that Royal Match is the 7th most popular free game right now, and the 2nd most popular is a game by the same company, just proves that time is a flat circle. The Candy Crush craze is still very much real, and as long as there are 40-year-old wine moms, I think it'll always just be a constant that looms over everything, always. The next one.
I think we could give Royal Match the stamp of not cheat. Because, like, seriously. It's not that bad, it's just not my style, you know? And the ads aren't that misleading. That all you have to say, bruh? Oh my. Hello, everybody, my name is Markiplier. Nah, bruh.
I think it'll always just be a constant that looms over everything, always. The next one's called Hero Wars Alliance RPG. This one is also pretty infamous for its insane ads.
Oh my. Now, I don't watch Queso, but I've seen like a clip. Well, I've seen the thumbnail of a clip where he says, "Is that me?" And then it's one of these ads for this game in particular. And it's like, that's how you raise a game to infamy right there.
Hero Wars Alliance RPG. This one is also pretty infamous for its insane ads. This was my reaction the last time I had to witness them.
What the fuck is that?
Pretty reasonable.
My reaction there for real, like seriously, that is all kinds of disgusting, in my opinion.
Last time I had to witness them.
And look at the dude's face, like, oh my goodness. Okay, stream's over, guys. I can't stand that. Just look at that. That's the... I don't think I've seen a more sus video game face than, like, you know, when the imposter is sus. That's what that reminds me of.
What the fuck is that?
Pretty reasonable if you ask me. So the first thing I see upon opening the game is what could very well be the most insane privacy policy I've ever agreed to.
Dear user, before you start use Hero Wars Alliance, please read the terms of use carefully and check that you have agreed to the terms of use.
See, these... I can't tell whether these guys are illiterate or they just can't speak English. Or they probably put this through a translator or something like that. In my opinion, yeah, it is partially my opinion, but peak TOS, like, oh my. I hereby also agree to the transfer of my personal data to third parties. That's how you get your IP address leaked right there. Like, seriously. Never check that box right there. Never!
Privacy policy I've ever agreed to.
Dear user, before you start use Hero Wars Alliance, please read the terms of use carefully and check that you have agreed to the terms of use. Please read our policy to find out more about our aims, objectives, and achievements.
Underneath that is 4 checkboxes saying I agree to the terms of service, I consent that the Nexters can use my personal data, that I'm an adult, and that I give them permission to the transfer of my...
That's also something, if I saw that, like, no. I'm immediately deleting the game, because no way would I let my personal data no way would I let that kind of company just treat my personal data like that. Like, seriously. Just the name alone, Nexters, that sounds pretty sus if you ask me.
That is 4 checkboxes saying I agree to the terms of service, I consent that the Nexters can use my personal data, that
hell no.
I am an adult, and that I give them permission to the transfer of my personal data. What data are they sharing? I don't know. I agreed anyway. I'm just saying, if my personal information is suddenly everywhere, I think I know where it leaked from. I'm putting myself on the line for this game, so it better at least be good. When we get in, our
spoiler alert, no, it probably wasn't.
Our hero character's trapped in a tower and we have to let him out. Then we get to see some of the number-based combat puzzles, which is code for using basic addition. Thankfully, I know that 32 is in fact bigger than 30, so I win and can move on.
Simple logic, you know?
Thankfully, I know that 32 is in fact bigger than 30, so I win and can move on. We get to see our main character, Galahad. Okay, I'm just saying, one of these depictions is way cooler than the other. Then he falls into a different map, where things are a little more open but with the same general gameplay. You just tap on the enemy with the least amount of health so you could add their number to yours. That's the main mechanic shown throughout its advertising. However,
spoiler alert, I leave. Yeah, I would leave this game as soon as I see that privacy policy, I would leave. Then I realize that it's a bad game, I also leave.
You could add their number to yours. That's the main mechanic shown throughout its advertising. However, when actually playing it, much like the shooty gun ads, it gets boring really quickly. The game tries to hide this with chests and other breakable objects that give you coins and gems. Then you can also fight bosses and go to towers that lead to the other types of sub-games. The tower one from earlier, but also another auto fighter one that's very similar to something like Raid Shadow Legends. While going through this area, things technically happen, but describing it sounds a lot cooler than actually playing it. You meet a giant troll woman and she'll fix the bridge for you if you get 500 points. You do this by tippity-tapping more things. Hooray! Something I find very funny is the moment Galahad interacts with a woman.
Wow!
Dude, oh my goodness. That is every Twitter simp as soon as they see a woman. Also, just for context, like, I think we all know, well, most of us know the legend of King Arthur and the Knights of Camelot. Galahad was one of those knights. He was a Giga Chad knight back then. Now, this game portrays him as cheap dollar store bootleg anime guy who gushes over any woman he sees. Like, seriously, I can't believe this. How could they take such a legendary character and neuter him to this level? Like, seriously. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Handle that machine gun like a pro. Gear guy.
Also, hey Lydia, glad to see you could join the stream this time. Albeit, I am a little bit heated right now because, you know, I'm reacting to garbage ad games. Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, I played that for like 5 minutes before I decided, nope, I'm better off playing other things. Not these garbage ads. Hey, it makes for good reaction content.
After going through enough enemies, I eventually got some more characters and made it to the town. It seems everything leading up to this point was basically just a tutorial. But the weird thing is that after finishing it, the main campaign is almost nothing like what I just played. It's just the auto battler from before without everything else complementing it. I don't know where the rest of the game went. The variety seems to be mostly contained in the cold open, which is unfortunate because as brain dead as it is, there are definitely ways to build onto this type of number-based combat to make it more challenging, interesting, or advanced. It's almost as if the developers knew that this gameplay would get stale and needed something more reliable to fall back on.
I wouldn't say this is reliable by any means. It's just, it basically just becomes an AFK game at that point. Yes, that is torturing. And I can't believe that the dude who uploaded this video, I can't believe the dude who made this video managed to suffer his way through all of this. Except for, the only good one in this video so far is like Royal Match, because that's actually somewhat truthful to its ads.
As if the developers knew that this gameplay would get stale and needed something more reliable to fall back on, to avoid the same problems we saw with the gameplay in Doomsday. But don't worry, guys. I know this may not be the game promised in the ads, but look! You can open loot boxes to get characters! Thank goodness they kept the mechanic that makes them more money. Really really shows to get characters. Thank goodness they kept the mechanic that makes them more money. Really shows the priorities.
Okay, funny you bring that up, Lydia, because then they mentioned that they have gacha in this game. Yep, even more of a pay-to-win strategy.
Overall, goodness they kept the mechanic that makes them more money. Really shows the priorities. Overall, you probably shouldn't try this game. The gameplay itself seems whatever, but the terms of use seem kind of insane. Do not try this at home, please.
Yeah, I certainly won't be. Like, seriously. Bad gameplay, a very sus privacy policy. No thanks.
Whatever, but the terms of use seem kind of insane. Do not try this at home, please. The last game I'll be looking at is Evony. This is one of the most iconic games in terms of its ads. Being a few years old, the most interesting thing to me is how the misleading ads have...
No thanks to mobile games, that's for sure. Yeah, the only mobile games right now that I play are Asphalt 9, Genshin Impact, and Star Rail. Those are like the only ones that I actively play right now. Thank God you quit it. Yeah. God bless you, man. Oh, good.
Try this at home, please. The last game I'll be looking at is Evony.
Oh my goodness. I hate the ads for this game so much. You know the Asphalts are pay to win too, right? Well, I mean, it's not... Well, I mean, yeah, to an extent they are, but it's certainly possible to be free to play in those games. Well, at least 9. 8 is definitely a pay-to-win hellhole now.
This is insane. Do not try this at home, please. The last game I'll be looking at is Evony. This is one of the most iconic games in terms of its ads. Being a few years old, the most interesting...
Yeah, these are the kind of ads for this game that I remember, and it's like, it depicts the person playing, again, as stupid, which, to me, translates to the person who's developing the game is stupid.
Thing to me is how the misleading ads have changed and evolved over time. Not in the sense that they're no longer misleading, because they still are, but more like that the type of ads have evolved.
Oh my goodness. More simps in ads. You
they're no
gotta
longer
be
misleading,
shitting me.
because they still are, but more like that...
See, what is it with these games and, like, trying to boost sexual attraction? Like, seriously. Hey, Taxman, thanks for stopping by, and you're checking here on 2 accounts. Thank you for all the support you gave to me and the other TLC members. Hey, no problem, man. Glad to be a part of such a great community. And by the way, please no raid tonight because, again, this is going to be a shorter stream and, you know, they promoting just to make money. What do you expect, man? Yeah, they invest all their money into the ads because that's what people see. So that, you know, they boost sales and all that. Jeez. I think that this ad was supposedly like 10 years old. At least according to what you said. Still, these kinds of ads are fucking abysmal.
Over ads. Being a few years old, the most interesting thing to me is how the misleading ads have changed and evolved over time. Not in the sense that they're no longer misleading, because they still are, but more like that the type of ads have evolved. When it was first getting popular, its ads were about this pin-pulling puzzle mechanic that in the current day didn't even make an appearance. Nearly 3 years ago, my friend Sournell covered this game in one of his videos, and the game he played was fundamentally different from the version of the game I played today. Looking at the branding and comparing them, they're almost completely unrecognizable. Sometime between 2022 and now, it switched from the fake pin game to the fake shooting game. It seems the one constant is the...
Yeah, trend. Sounds like this game is trying to be a trend chaser. No thanks.
And now, it switched from the fake pin game to the fake shooting game. It seems the one constant is the predominantly negative reviews complaining about it. and also receiving the most NPC inhuman responses possible from the developers.
Dear player, to better solve your issue, could you provide more details so that we can assist you further? Thanks for your patience, and we seek for your kind understanding.
Yep, that sounds like an AI-generated response to me.
Can assist you further? Thanks for your patience, and we seek for your kind understanding.
Great working.
One more thing I found absolutely hilarious about the ads was the disconnect between the videos and the playable demo after. The hard cut from expectations to reality is so unbelievably funny to me. It's a...
That is so... Okay, what do you expect? It's an ad game. Of course it's going to be low quality. Not just low quality, but like, look at this. Bad textures, low frame rates. It's the whole package.
From expectations to reality is so unbelievably funny to me. It's a broken, stuttery mess that barely works. When I played the actual game, I watched what could possibly be the lowest quality video in any video game I've ever played.
Oh, my ears! My ears! Oh my god.
This was directly followed by a 3-minute...
Dude, I almost went deaf. I almost went deaf hearing that. That was abysmal. And what the hell is happening there? What was that? Like a cannon or a ballista bolt? And then, like, look at this. It's raining bodies!
This was directly followed by a 3-minute...
Oh, and of course, they just have to have the Call of Freedom in there, the old eagle screech. Yeah, that's totally gonna boost sales.
This was directly followed by a 3-minute, 1.3 gigabyte resource bundle I had to wait for, so my first impression was already amazing. Then it hard cuts to the gameplay, but it somehow looks even worse than the playable demo, somehow. For some reason, the ground is completely stationary while everything else moves towards you. There's a second level.
What, is there like rollers underneath all these?
For some reason, the ground is completely stationary while everything else moves towards you. There's a second level, and at the end we fight the first boss, this dragon. For some reason, even though we're in an old medieval kingdom, there's still just modern guns floating around. This clearly shows that the new gameplay format was just sorta shamelessly grafted on after the game started using fake gameplay to advertise itself, with no actual forethought to what it means for the game it's attached to. Either way, I don't think the time period actually really matters, because Joan of Arc shows up at the same time as Cleopatra. Speaking of, let's talk to her.
Oh, there are more monsters attacking the...
She also...
AI-generated voice acting. Oh boy. This is just further proof that all their budget went into advertising, not into actually making the game themselves, because if they did, they wouldn't have AI-generated voices.
Of, let's talk to her.
Oh, there are more monsters attacking the...
She also has cartoonish voice acting, and wait a minute, this is not just a reskin of that zombie game, right? I refuse to believe she's also gonna be restrained, and then you'll have to save her, and you'll be mysteriously unable to beat the last level without paying for a different hero to get you over the edge. There's just no way they do that, right?
Surprise, surprise. Different, same shit, different time period.
Oh my fucking god. They did. They were so lazy, they just took the exact setup of a different game and reused every single point of psychology to manipulate gamers into spending their dollars. The mobile game industry is an incestuous amalgam of scummy business practices, and this game is yet again proof of that fact. Out of curiosity, considering they're the exact same game and both have seemingly infinite advertising budgets, I went to...
You know, someday I might go on an unhinged rant, and I'll use the Homelander theme as well. That just seems to be the go-to. That seems to be the go-to background music whenever someone has an unhinged, insanity-driven rant.
to manipulate gamers into spending their dollars. The mobile game industry is an incestuous amalgam of scummy business practices, and this game is yet again proof of that fact. Out of curiosity, considering they're the exact same game and both have seemingly infinite advertising budgets, I went to check if they were made by the same company, but no, they seem to be completely separate entities. The craziest thing to me is that, by all counts, Eventy seems to be the more successful game, even
Well, I think that's because, you know, it's been around longer and it used to be a different game before then. Of course, it's just they probably got more downloads again because they're trend chasing.
Craziest thing to me is that, by all counts, Eventy seems to be the more successful game, even though at every turn it's been a consistently less polished experience. To be fair, I have no idea which game is taking from which. Eventy's been around for a while, but as I mentioned earlier, it was a completely different game. Judging by the quality difference,
just what I
think
said.
I can tell which one is the rushed clone. Game is taking from which. Eventy's been around for a while, but as I mentioned earlier, it was a completely different game.
That's exactly what I said.
Judging by the quality difference, I think I can tell which one is the rushed clone. Overall, Eventy is trash doo-doo ass. Actually, to a degree, all of these games are. I think the moral of this video is that if you have enough of a budget to have the heaviest advertising campaign possible,
Oh my goodness. Who else remembers those game of
this video is that if you have enough of a budget to have the heaviest advertising campaign.
Who else remembers those Game of War ads with the infamous Legend 27? Those were the days of good advertising for games.
Possible, maybe you should try investing that money enough. Actually, to a degree, all of these games are. I think the moral of this video is that if you have enough of a budget to have the heaviest advertising campaign possible, maybe you should try investing that money into making a good video game first. Or at very least, don't make an entire fake game to advertise it. Have people get mad at you for false advertising, then throw together a worse version of the game you were advertising in the first place. It seems like a lot of these ad games did that. The Hero one in specific was piss easy until they dropped the advertised gameplay entirely in exchange for being a generic auto fighter. Now, there's still one more thing I want to say in regards to these games. Even now, I think the actual games attached to these demos are almost entirely different. But if these little demos look interesting to you, there are actually some games that capture the simplicity and actually function as a complete package. Yeah, you want those games, right? So here you go, now let's see you clear them. And its sequel are two actually decent little games that have you actually playing a lot of the games you'd see in these ads. They're each
That might be something worth considering in the future.
Decent little games that have you actually playing a lot of the games you'd see in these ads. They're each collections of the most popular ad games, so you've undoubtedly seen the gameplay here before, but they have a consistent visual style, actual progression, and are most importantly, a working part of a greater package. Who would have guessed that if you design an entire game around the gameplay, all of a sudden it's a lot more well thought out? That's all I have to say about ad games. Mobile games are cooked, and I think that's been my general opinion for the better part of like 5 years. In some ways, it's nice to know that some things never really change. Now if you excuse me, I'm gonna go play an actual good game. Brazilian Drug Dealer 3, I've opened a portal to hell in the favela trying to revive Midaya and I need to close it. See ya!
Oh my goodness. This looks like... Okay, this looks like... That looks like Doom combined with... Not sure if you've heard of it, but there's an old PS1 game called LSD. It has a very similar art style to that. Anyways, I want to rephrase my I want to restate my question that I made earlier in the video. Do you all remember when mobile games were actually good? They didn't need advertising back then. Or at the very least, they didn't need a fake clickbait style ad right before. Like again, think of some of the greats back then. Angry Birds, Plants vs. Zombies, Cut the Rope. They were all great, and for the most part, you didn't really see their ads. The gameplay spoke for itself back then. And now it just seems like, you know, all the budget goes into the ads while the games themselves are just brain rot inducing mess. Let's not forget the OG. Let's not forget the OG era of Gameloft. Yeah, Minion Rush, the original Asphalt 8 before it became a pay-to-win hellhole. Yeah, those were the days, and I wish I could go back and claim them. I wish I could go back and experience it all again, because nowadays, like YouTube Kids in particular, it's all just a bunch of pointless brain rot. Anyways, that's where I'm going to leave it for tonight, guys. I'm most likely going to go back and edit all this into a massive video for my channel. And hopefully y'all could catch that alongside some of my dumb editing in the process. As for when else I'm going to stream this week, I'm planning on streaming on Friday and then the weekend days, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what the outside schedule looks like. But I do want to at least stream once for each of those days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So hopefully y'all could catch me for then. So hopefully y'all could catch me when I stream those days. Till then, everyone, take care, best of luck in your future endeavors, and farewell. See you around, everyone.